If you were to ask me what it's like waiting for my expectations to become a reality, I would say that so long as God is a factor in my life, that I'm not waiting in vain, I am waiting in progress. That is to say that fear is not an option, rather, confidence is. I'm going to tell you why I believe this, but before then, hi, you're listening to Thrive and Sell podcast, a podcast dedicated to help you thrive in every facet of life. I'm your host, Theodore Nani. If you're a returning listener, I love you. And if this is your first time tuning in, thank you for stopping by on this podcast. I share contents related to faith, wellness, personal development, and so much more. So stay tuned. When I talk about waiting seasons, I would say that waiting for your expectations to become a reality is not something that happens once in a while. And it doesn't happen once in a while because we are humans and we are always in desire of one thing or the other. So when there is a need for something, there will always be a time between when you desire that and when you get that. So the time between when you desire it and when it becomes a reality is what I like to call a waiting season. One day you're desiring a car, another day you're desiring a promotion, another day you're desiring a job. There are so many things we desire for in life, right? We desire for relationships, we desire for so many things that has to do with progress. And while all these things are a factor, we would always be like, okay, so when is this going to happen? So when is this going to happen? And so between those seasons of you expecting, there are a lot of emotions that would come in. But I like to believe that so long as God is a factor in my life, in our life, that we all we need to do is wait in confidence. All we need to do is get rid of fear, avoid fear, not allow fear to be a thing in our life, and just embrace the confidence that okay, fine, we're not waiting in vain, rather we're waiting in progress. So I said I am not waiting in vain because I believe that at every point in my life, in our lives, that there is a certain level of progress that we make. Although sometimes it can just be so trivial that you're asking yourself, is anything really happening? And that is why I believe that, okay, while I'm waiting for the other one to become a reality, I'm also making progress in another. So that is what I meant when I said I am not waiting in vain, rather, I am waiting in progress. And when this at that point in time you're expecting, there is likelihood of fear as an emotion that could set in, and there is also a likelihood of confidence in God, trusting in Him that okay, that He's in control and He's going to see you through it all, and that He's going to make your expectations to become a reality. Yes, and when I go further to think about that feeling of fear, I know that fear is what brings tears. Because yes, I'm not going to paint it in any way, paint it and make it look as if okay, that in my waiting seasons I don't cry and the rest of them. But I know that the days I cry about things I don't have or maybe feel bad, I will not really cry like shed tears, but the days you have to question, okay, so why is this not coming for, like, I need this at this point in time, but it looks as if it's not coming at that moment. And then I'm asking, and then I'm getting unnecessarily worried. I know that it is fear that leads to that. But when you're waiting in confidence, when you're engulfed in confidence that God is coming through for you, that and He has a lot He's doing behind the scenes on your behalf, He's doing for your sake, He's doing for what you're expecting, and that is where confidence comes in, and that is why you look at people, you look at others, and you wonder why do these people still have their heads up in this moment, right? I know that it is because they choose to let confidence be the greater part of their season rather than fear. The truth of the matter is that there is no perfectionism in this. Yes, because we are not going to bank on the fact, okay, I'm confident today and that fear is not going to come in tomorrow. As Christians, as believers, we would always want to choose confidence over fear, right? And despite that, despite our choice being confident, fear would always come up because we are humans and because it's easy for us to just fall short of what we hold on to as our strength and just to get back to our weaknesses. But in those moments when fear becomes a thing, I often encourage us to just try as much as we can to get back on track. Yeah. If you want to cry, cry. If you want to feel bad, feel bad. But just do not dwell in it for so long that it gets out of hands and probably just leads to other things that may not be welcomed in our life or may not be the best in our life. And that is why I encourage us to always tell ourselves in those moments when fear comes in that God is doing something better. What I want is not a reality yet doesn't mean that it's not going to become a reality. It is just because God is doing something that needs to come before that. This is what I often tell myself. I know God is doing something. I know He's not sleeping. He doesn't sleep. He's always alert. He's doing something. That is why I always think of waiting season as a season that comes with lots of expectations and it comes with a lot of pruning too. When I talk about the expectation, it's the desire that, okay, fine, today has just ended, but can I just wake up tomorrow to this reality I'm expecting? That is, you're expecting for something to happen tomorrow, expecting that, oh, that thing you've been desiring that is just going to come to you the next day, right? And then there is that part of pruning. That is the part that makes you uncomfortable. I like to think of it as the discomfort that comes with waiting, the pruning. And yeah, despite the pruning being a discomfort, I know that even in those moments that God is also using it to either build us up or do something we don't even know about. And yes, nobody likes discomfort. If you like discomfort, I do not like discomfort, but it's not like you have much control over it, right? Because if you were to have control over it, there wouldn't even be any room for me to wait. Whatever it is I need, I get it right now. But then, because we do not have control over it, we just have to wait for it. And in those waiting, there will be the expectation, and then there will be the discomfort that comes with the stretching. Yes, the stretching, because that stretching is not a fun thing. It's not, because I like to think of it as a lot of discomfort, but a discomfort that shapes me, a discomfort that makes me a better version of myself. And that is why in my moments of waiting, I like to get to a place where I just speak to God, and in my moments of prayer or in my moments of communication with God, I just ask God, I know you're doing something, and I know that your ways are not my ways, because if your ways are my ways, definitely I will have everything staring right in front of me. But because your ways are different, I don't know what you're doing at this time. But you must have a reason for not um, making this a reality yet. Is there anything I need to do? There is that part of me that wants to ask myself, I do not want to be, yes, perfect. I do not want to be the reason why this um, expectation is going to stretch longer. Father Lord, if there is something you need me to do at this point that is going to help my journey, that is going to hasten everything up, that is going to facilitate it, Father Lord, can you please bring me onto it? Bring me, align me with that so that I'll be able to do your will. That is the prayer I say often in those waiting seasons, right? And that is it. That is it for waiting season. The ways of God are not the ways of man. So definitely I'm going to stick to his ways. But in my job is now to, or my responsibility is to communicate with him. God, please, if there is anything you would want me to do to align with what you're doing, please do not um forsake me, always let me know, always bring me onto it so that I do my part and leave the rest for you, right? So, and in those moments, there is also why the ways of God is not the ways of man. I tend to hold on to his promises that he will take me to the expected end, right? My expectations, he will take me to the expected end. And that is his promise in the book of Jeremiah 29, verse 11. By the way, that is my favorite Bible verse. And he said that he knows the plans he has for me, plans of prosperity and not of disaster. And I feel like it's in those pruning moments that we tend to look at the waiting season as a disastrous one, right? For example, you've left a job and now you're waiting for something big, or possibly, yes, you've left a job and a job that pays you well and just decided, okay, fine. There are people who tend to probably just possibly start a business while working and then only get to leave the work when the business have grown to an extent that it can sustain them. And then there are people who just take that leap of faith and they just leave the job and they get onto business, hoping and praying, God, please, can I make progress with regards to my business tomorrow? And God looks as if He's not forthcoming, but He can hear us. And I know that He is doing so many things behind the scene. And in those moments, you're worried. And then at some point, you could just get to a place where you're asking yourself, did I do the right thing? Did I do the right thing? Isn't this disastrous? Who leaves a well-paying job to just come here to start a business with so much uncertainty and risk, business that you're not even sure of scaling up and the rest of them? But in those moments, I feel like what God wants us to know is that His plans for us are not of disaster, but to take us to our expected end. If I have called on to God and said, God, can you help me with this? Can you help me make this a reality? Then all I have to do is just hold on to Him, trust Him, believe in His words, knowing fully well that He also said in the book of Ephesians 3:20 that He will do exceedingly more than we have ever asked. His job is to exceed our expectations. His job is to just take us to our expected, and His job is to make our expectations a reality so long as it aligns with His will. This is also a factor. So long as it aligns with His will, right? So if our expectations aligns with His will, His plans for us, because He also said that it is His will that will prevail. Yes. So long as our expectation aligns with His will, definitely He is going to do it for us. He's going to exceed our expectations. He's going to take us to our expected end, and that is what I want us to hold on to in any moment, any season, and any time where we are waiting for our expectations to become a reality. Thank you for listening to this episode of Thrive and Sell podcast. I hope this podcast inspires you and encourages you to hang in there and just keep pushing and holding on to God, that He is going to show up soon and He's going to make everything He has been doing visible to you, recognizable to you and to others. Okay? Thank you and see you in my next episode.